Radha Shri Sadguru Govind ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Shankar Radha Kundi Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navaditam ki jai, Mathura Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Yamuna Mahi ki jai, Ganga Mahi ki jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to the Sama devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 22. Tasyavam, from the word forward, Tasya Evam Ramamanasya Samvatsara Gannan Bahun Vihamedeshu Yogeshu Viragaha Samajayata Tasyavam Ramamanasya Samvatsaraganan Buhun Grihamedeshu Yogeshu Viraga Samajayata Tasyavam Ramanasya Samvatsaraganan Bahun Grihamedeshu Yogeshu Viraga Samajayata Tasyavam Ramanasya Samvatsaraganan Bahun Grihamedeshu Yogeshu Viraga Samajayata
Tasyavam Ramananasya Samvatsaraganan Bahun Vihamedeshu Yogeshu Viraga Samajayata Tasyavam Ramananasya Samvatsaraganan Bahun Grihamedeshu Yogeshu samajayata. Tasyaivam ramamanasya samvatsaraganan bahu priyamedeshu yogeshu viraga samajayata. Tasyaivam ramamanasya samvatsaraganan bahum grihadmedheshu yogeshu viraga samajayata.
Tasyaivam ramamanasya
Aivabramanasya
samvatsaraganan bahum
Sarganabahun
vihamedeshu yogeshu
Yahamedeshu yogeshu
viraga samajayata.
Samajayata. Tasya his evam thus Ramamanasya enjoying Sangvatsara years Ganan many Bahun great many Grihamedeshu in household life Yogeshu in sex life Viragaha detachment Samajayata awakened. Translation. The Lord was thus engaged in household life for many, many years, but at last his detachment from ephemeral sex life was fully manifested. Purport. Even though the Lord is never attached to any kind of material sex life, as the universal teacher, he remained a householder for many, many years, just to teach others how one should live in householder life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the word samajayata means fully exhibited. In all his activities while present on the earth, the Lord exhibited detachment. This was fully displayed when he wanted to teach by example that one should not remain attached to household life for all the days of one's life. One should naturally develop detachment as a matter of course. The Lord's detachment from household life does not indicate detachment from his eternal associates, the transcendental cowherd damsels. But the Lord desired to end his so-called attachment to the three modes of material nature. He can never be detached from the service of his transcendental associates like Rukmini and other goddesses of fortune, as described in the Brahma Samhita 5.29, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam. The Lord was thus engaged in household life for many, many years, but at last his detachment from ephemeral sex life was fully manifested.
Played the part of a householder, although it's not material. Spiritual. Krishna is, the fact that he married 16,108 gives us some idea that it's not ordinary. An ordinary man can do that. But he gives a little taste, a little sample of his spiritual affairs. When he comes to this world, he brings his associates, he brings his dham, his paraphernalia, he brings Jamuna River and Oran Hill, and many of the things that he used in Dwarka, for example, were taken from heavenly planets, King Indra's abode. He brought the Paradata tree and brought the house, the assembly house, because he wanted to show that his opulence, even in the material world, is not material, it's spiritual. And his fact that he didn't grow older, he never looked older than a young man of 16 or 20 years, now a yogana. It's always fresh youth. And his now yogana means he never grows old. And so why does he do these things? Why does he act like an ordinary person? Sometimes he sets the example for the living beings who are in human society so they can follow his example. And in household life, he was very expert at doing his duties. It's described in the Bhagavatam that he would rise in the morning when the crow or the rooster made a sound, he would get up from bed, no matter how beautiful, how comfortably he was being embraced by his wives. He got up. And he began to perform his ablutions, bathing and offering prayers, and decorating his body with tilak, and all these things. And he did meditation on Radha Krishna. They show us that we should also meditate on Radha Krishna. But sometimes his activities cannot be imitated or followed even the slightest bit. Lifting over a hill. Simply that way, no one else could do that. But he did it. And so those activities are to be appreciated. But this is the activity of the personality of Godhead. As far as his engagement in sex life, yes, it's true. He had 10 children, 10 sons by each wife. And there were some daughters also, not so many, but there were some also given. And then those sons, they also had 10 children each, 10 sons each. So his family line was huge. 16,000 times 10, 160,000 sons and another 10, 1.6 million. And to show wonderful, we can appreciate this. Some people say it's exaggerated. It can't be accepted as real because no one can do it. But if someone is God, he can do everything. And that's the whole idea, is Krishna is God, and therefore he can do everything. But relax. So as long as we get the information from a reliable source, And we can just believe it, accept it, and appreciate. We cannot just make up something and say, well, if God can do anything, He can also do this. Well, I'll make up this. He was surfing and doing something. I don't have to make it up. His activities are wonderful enough. We won't be able to compete with them by our imaginations. And no qualified person would accept the idea that Krishna had some activities that are not in the scriptures and that somebody made them up. And because God can do everything, He must have done this too. That logic does not work. So if one wants to follow Krishna's example as a married man, great, sure, that's fine. Then he can do that. He can marry a wife and live like a first-class householder. Krishna showed how to live as a householder. When Brahmins came to his home, he gave them the highest respect. He even gave his own sitting place, his own bed, to them to sit on. They washed their feet. He sprinkled the water on his head. He gave them 13,000 cows, I think it is, he gave away daily in charity. 13,054 or something like that. He was very charitable. This is a householder. Householders are meant to give charity because the other members of society are not earning any livelihood. Brahmacharis don't earn livelihood. And the vanaprasthas, they're not earning. They stopped their earning now. They're just preparing for going back to the spiritual world. And sannyasis don't earn. They have to be maintained by the householders. Therefore, a householder life is especially expected to give charity. And charity given to the right places, right people, right time. Like, especially if Vaishnavas, one gives to a Vaishnava or to the Lord, it's not giving wealth to the Lord is not exactly the same as giving to a person who's a poor person. We give charity to a person who's poor so that he can get some out of compassion. But when we give to Krishna, charity is not like giving to a poor person. It's seva. We're offering something that's already his, but we're trying to do some service. He doesn't need it, we know that. The devotees know that the Lord doesn't require anything. But if we offer something to Him with love and devotion, then He accepts it. Even a leaf or water, or a little rice, whatever one can offer. So, I want to be like God or like Krishna, enjoying, but He never enjoyed illicitly in His married life. There's no indications of Him having any relations with those who are not His wives. Of course, the relationship with Krishna and the gopis of Vrindavan is transcendently mysterious. No one can understand it materially because it's completely spiritual. The gopis appreciating Krishna with their spiritual forms. Krishna is appreciating gopis with the spiritual form. And it can't be imitated by any ordinary person. But here, especially speaking about there's the matrimonial relationship, conjugal relationship, Krishna with the queens. They were married with him according to all the rules and regulations. And then there's the outside of marriage relationships with the gopis. So Parakiya is the outside. But it's not that it's less pure. It's completely pure because it's all enacted on the spiritual platform. Can't be considered mundane. So the 10th canto of Bhagavatam deals with all these topics. Krishna's queens and having children and Krishna's relationships with the coward damsels of Braja. But that's 10 cantos means one who wants to enter into understanding that needs to prepare himself by studying 9 cantos previous to that and before that, the Bhagavad Gita, especially in the Upanishads. Otherwise, one will misunderstand and think that either Krishna is an ordinary person or the whole thing is just contrived. It's a mythology. And that's what happens. We see it in the universities. Sometimes scholars like to get involved in these topics and they make comments like this is just ordinary. Obviously this is exaggerated. This is the mythology of the Hindus. But it's not true. Krishna is performing all these wonderful activities. But one is very eager to serve the Lord. Then he'll be able to understand these things. The Lord reveals himself. As they surrender unto me, he reveals himself. In order to properly understand these things, one has to show himself to be a sincere, aspiring devotee. And he's serving the other devotees with great respect. By doing that, he wins the favor of Krishna. And Krishna reveals himself. Otherwise, avajananti mamudha manusham tamash param bhavam janata nambhutu maheshwara. And fools and rascals, they think he's just an ordinary person. They cannot understand his transcendental nature and supreme dominion over all. He was dancing, he blew his flute, and the sound of his flute attracted the coward damsels to come in the dead of night. But no one could stop it. There was attempts, but it was not possible to stop this. Because the Lord he's supreme above all. No, if the Lord wants to perform his pastimes, no one can interfere. Like Jivi Gorilla, he saw Lord Balaram dancing with his associates, and he became envious. He wanted those women to be attracted to him, so he tried to stop the pastimes. He took Balaram's burning beverage and broke it. He tried to take the damsels with him. So finally Balaram, he had enough of this. and he finished him. So that's what happens to anyone who tries to interfere with the Lord.
Thank you, Maharaj. I was just thinking that we are finite, or we are infinitesimal, and it's not possible for the infinitesimal to understand the infinite under normal circumstances. Just like, we can theoretically understand that an ant cannot understand, the temple operations, even though he is within the temple, crawling on the floor. Similarly, we are infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord without the capacity on our own to understand the infinite. But if the infinite wills to have himself understood by the infinitesimal, then he can bless anyone he wants with that knowledge. So that's kind of what we're after, is our desire is to receive the favor of the Lord. Our desire is to receive his attention, receive his glance. So many pastimes or many songs of the acharyas speak about this. Many prayers from Rupa Goswami, from different personalities, describe how they want to be under the glance of the Lord. They want to be seen. They want to be recognized. They want to be appreciated by the Lord by his great mercy. On their own, they feel that actually I'm not worthy, or I'm inadequate in so many ways, but still we have a great hope that the Lord will be kind to us and bestow his favor upon us. And if we understand the science of devotional service, we understand that favor of the Lord is manifested, or the mercy of the Lord, or the mercy incarnation of the Lord is actually the spiritual master. So by association with the spiritual master, or the Shuddha Bhakta, then the pure devotee, then it's possible to enter into understanding of the Supreme Person. So we're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada has taken so much painstaking effort to give us entrance into confidential leelas of the Supreme Person. And some devotees describe that he has opened the back door to the spiritual world for his associates and his assistants. Otherwise, there'd be no way to enter into that purified realm, But by his dedication, his faith, then we can ride on his mercy and enter into that understanding and become qualified. So, there's this topic where Krishna is not actually attached to the mundane, sex life. So what we can understand is that just And philosophers discuss this from, in the Vedas for a lot, since time immemorial, how the Lord appears to be within the material world, but he's never actually covered by it, which is the difference between him and the Jivatmas, right? There's the Paramatma and there's the Jivatmas, or us. There's the Supreme Lord, and then there's his Titashta Shakti, right? And his Titashta Shakti, or the marginal potency, they're very easily covered by the influence of the material energy. Whereas he says, Mayātyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena konteya jagadvipari vartate. That this is, Maya is under my superintendence. Mayātyakshena prakriti. So whereas we're subjected, we're controlled, even though we are Purusha, so-called Purusha in this material world, and we can manipulate elements, and I can move my arms, or I can move the flower, or I can make some food for Krishna, like that. I can manipulate the material elements. Actually, I'm always subjected by the laws of nature. Right? Until I become transcendental. But what's interesting is that when I become transcendental, as a Titashta Shakti, I'm also subjected under the spiritual energy. Right? So that's just who we are. We're either subordinate and controlled by the material energy, and we're forced to act according to the laws of nature under the rules of karma, right? Or under the spiritual energy, we're forced to act in service to Krishna, which is our real desire and our real nature, right? According to the transcendental will of the Lord. So all these devotees that associate with the Lord, they're completely liberated souls. And according to his will, they are serving him. Because their only desire is to serve the Lord in pure devotional service. So he reciprocates with them by giving them entrance into that service according to the perfect arrangement for them. Yes, Maharaj?
And they also, as they become those Titashta Shakti, living entities, as they become more and more purified, and they're given the opportunity to use their own talents and abilities and desires to serve him. It's under the Lord's supervision, under Yogamaya, but there's full freedom there too. It's not that the spiritual world is pre-organized and it's all set, and nothing can be changed. And it's always fresh and new, because the new desires of the devotees are always making it manifest more and more wonderfully.
Thank you, Maharaj. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.